History is full of grand events, battles, and revolutions that shape the world we know today. But what about the stories we've forgotten? The events that didn't make it into the textbooks or history spotlight, but still hold fascinating lessons. Today, we're diving deeper into some of history's most overlooked moments, those that time left behind. Overlooked regional revolutions. Let's start with the Taiping Rebellion in China, from 1850 to 1864. This was one of the deadliest conflicts in history, yet it's often overshadowed by Western revolutions. Over 20 million people died, and it nearly toppled the Qing Dynasty. But what caused such devastation, and how did it reshape Chinese society? We'll dive into that. Next, the Satsuma Rebellion of 1877 in Japan. This was the last stand of the samurai who fought against Japan's modernization efforts. Imagine warriors in traditional armor trying to stop the tide of industrialization. Sounds like a movie, right? Well, it's history. Obscure battles or wars. Now let's talk about some truly bizarre moments. Take the Battle of Karánsebes in 1788. What started as a routine military operation turned into one of the most confusing battles in history. Austrian soldiers, in the midst of a foggy night, mistook each other for the enemy. What followed was a chaotic, friendly fire disaster. And then there's the War of the Golden Stool in 1900. The British Empire wanted control of sacred Ashanti artifacts, leading to a full-blown conflict in Ghana. This battle wasn't just about territory. It was about identity and cultural heritage. And let's not forget the Anglo-Zanzibar War in 1896. How long did it last? 38 minutes. It's the shortest war in history, and yet it tells us so much about power dynamics and colonialism. Forgotten empires and civilizations. History often celebrates empires like Rome, Greece, and Egypt, but many powerful civilizations are rarely discussed, despite their significant contributions to culture, trade, and diplomacy. The Aksumite Empire, located in modern-day Ethiopia, was one of the ancient world's great trading powers. It played a crucial role in early Christianity, becoming one of the first empires to officially adopt the religion. At its peak, Aksum controlled trade routes across the Red Sea, connecting Africa, Arabia, and India. The empire's impressive architecture, including the famous stelae, stone obelisks, and its unique coinage system made it a formidable force in the ancient world. Known for inspiring the legend of El Dorado, the Muisca Confederation was a sophisticated society in pre-Columbian Colombia. The Muisca people were skilled in goldwork, creating intricate artifacts that would later become the basis for the El Dorado myth. Their governance system was organized into a loose confederation of city-states, each ruled by a zipa or a zak. The Muisca also had advanced agricultural practices, yet their civilization is often overshadowed by the arrival of the Spanish. Events with unique cultural impacts. Some historical events not only shaped their times, but also left lasting marks on culture, economy, and society. These events often seem odd or outlandish, but their effects ripple through history in unexpected ways. In 1932, Australia launched an unusual military operation against emus. The government, struggling with crop damage caused by a massive emu population in Western Australia, decided to use soldiers armed with machine guns to reduce the bird numbers. The operation was a disaster. The emus outran the soldiers, and the war ended in failure. This bizarre event is now a part of Australian folklore and serves as a cautionary tale about overestimating human control over nature. Tulip Mania in the Netherlands during the 17th century is often considered one of the first speculative economic bubbles. Tulip bulbs, particularly rare varieties, were traded for astronomical prices. At the height of the mania, a single bulb could be worth more than a house. However, when the market crashed, it caused financial devastation. Tulip Mania remains an iconic example of how human greed and speculative behavior can lead to financial collapse, and serves as a metaphor for modern economic bubbles. Contributions of unsung figures. History is often shaped by figures whose contributions go unnoticed or underappreciated, yet their influence is undeniable. These unsung heroes played pivotal roles in changing the course of history, but their names are not always remembered. Sophie Scholl was a German student and anti-Nazi activist during World War II. As a member of the White Rose movement, she distributed pamphlets calling for resistance against the Nazi regime. Despite her youth, Sophie's courage and willingness to stand up against a totalitarian regime made her one of the most important figures of the German resistance. She was executed at the age of 21, but her story continues to inspire those who fight for justice and freedom. Mary Anning, a 19th century paleontologist from England, made groundbreaking discoveries that changed our understanding of prehistoric life. Her most famous find, the fossilized remains of an ichthyosaurus, was one of the first of its kind. Despite facing immense societal challenges as a woman in a male-dominated field, Anning's work laid the foundation for modern geology and paleontology. Yet, she received little recognition in her lifetime, and her contributions were often overshadowed by male scientists. Yasuke was an African man who became a samurai in feudal Japan, one of the few foreigners ever to hold such a prestigious title. Yasuke arrived in Japan in the late 16th century, serving the powerful warlord Oda Nobunaga. His impressive strength, loyalty, and unique background earned him a place in Japanese history. Despite his remarkable status, Yasuke's story is often overlooked, and he remains a fascinating but forgotten figure in the cultural exchange between Africa and Japan. Untold disasters. Some of the deadliest and most destructive events in history remain largely forgotten, overshadowed by larger, more well-known tragedies. Yet these disasters shaped societies and provided important lessons for future generations. In August 1975, the Banqiao Dam in China failed due to heavy rainfall, triggering a catastrophic flood. The disaster resulted in the deaths of an estimated 171,000 people, making it one of the deadliest dam failures in history. Despite the scale of the tragedy, the event was kept largely secret by the Chinese government at the time, and the true extent of the disaster was not widely known until years later. The Banqiao Dam failure remains a stark reminder of the dangers of poorly planned infrastructure and the human cost of neglecting safety standards. While the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 is widely remembered, the Peshtigo Fire, which occurred on the same day, is largely forgotten. The Peshtigo Fire ravaged the Wisconsin countryside, killing an estimated 1,500 to 2,500 people, making it the deadliest wildfire in American history. The fire was so intense that it created its own weather system, including firestorms. Yet, because of its remote location, it received little media attention, and the tragedy remains underappreciated in the annals of American history. These forgotten events remind us that history is full of surprises and untold stories. Every corner of the past has a lesson waiting to be discovered. If you found these hidden moments fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive deeper together.